It's very ironic that it's one of the fourth most abundant mineral in the Earth's crust.
Iron is?
Iron is, yeah.
Wow.
So, and calcium is just after that.
Wow.
So, but we have all these iron deficiencies, and we have such an issue with iron. And I'm telling you right now that majority of people who are iron deficient are not vegan. There's a lot of people who are iron deficient who eat a lot of meat.
Welcome back to episode 3 with Dr. Andrew Little, and I'm really excited today because we're going to be talking about iron. And myself as a vegan, I've been vegan for about 2.5 years now, and I know myself personally, my iron hasn't changed at all. And there's so many myths about iron, and I cannot wait for you to get into this and sort of dispel some of the things, because I know a lot of the people out there have been asking us questions, and I know you get asked these questions a lot.
Yeah.
What about my iron? And not only that, there's a lot of health professionals out there as well saying to a lot of vegans, you need to eat meat to get your iron. Start eating meat. A vegan diet's no good. Eat meat, get iron. Eat meat, get iron. So let's chat about it.
Let's chat about iron.
Let's chat about
Mate,
it.
I love this topic, and you get it all the time. People say, well, where do you get your protein from? Where do you get your iron? Where do you get everything from? It's like I said, there's nothing you can't get from plants that you can get from meat. So iron is a great topic. We as a society, we have become so obsessed with particular little components of food.
Totally.
Macronutrients, micronutrients, how much is that got, how much is this got, and we are just designed to eat food. Yeah. And you know what? The best thing I personally believe, the best food you can eat is plants, and only plants. It's certainly the best thing you can do for the planet and the animals. But and there's a lot of people who are out there who would debate that, oh, is it best for your health? Well, personally, after reading the research and after my own personal stories, I think there's no doubt that it's healthiest for you too. So,
100%.
Iron's one of those things where it's very ironic that it's one of the fourth most abundant mineral in the Earth's crust.
Iron is?
Iron is, yeah.
Wow.
So, and calcium is just after that.
Wow.
So, but we have all these iron deficiencies, and we have such an issue with iron. And I'm telling you right now that majority of people who are iron deficient are not vegan. There's a lot of people who are iron deficient who eat a lot of meat. Now, I think first of all, we need to talk about, what is iron? Iron is an essential mineral. So we have, when we talk about essential nutrition, food that we need to take in from our diet. The body can't make it, okay? So there's so much iron. It's in our soils, which gets taken up into food, and we can eat that food. Now, there's two forms of iron. So there's heme iron and non-heme iron. Heme iron typically comes from animals, so from meat. And non-heme iron comes from plants. So heme meaning hemoglobin. So we use iron to make hemoglobin. Now hemoglobin is a protein in our red cells that binds oxygen. Why do we need them? Well, to stay alive, we take oxygen in, goes into our lungs, transfers across into our blood, into our red cells, binds that hemoglobin. The red cell then takes that to the whole body, because every single cell needs that oxygen to produce energy to stay alive. When it gets there, so you'll have iron in hemoglobin. You also can have iron in what we call myoglobin. That's the same thing as hemoglobin, but it's in muscle. And it delivers oxygen to the muscle to provide for energy for us to move around and things like that. You'll also find iron stored as ferritin and hemosiderin in the body. So ferritin is the stored form of iron. That's how we determine if someone is iron deficient.
Okay.
So here's the important part. Iron levels in your blood are not indicative of iron deficiency. It's ferritin, so it's the storage. So you can have low iron levels but have adequate ferritin stores, and you are not iron deficient. So the other place that iron is stored is in our immune system. So it's called our reticuloendothelial system, which is a fancy way of saying our immune system. So your symptoms of iron deficiency become anemia. So anemia is when you have very low hemoglobin. You have low circulating hemoglobin, so therefore you get tired because you're not getting enough oxygen to the parts where it's needed. People get tired, fatigued, and things like that. And other symptoms would be because it affects your immune system, you can get sick and things like that as well. Now, my wife just recently went through pregnancy and having a little boy, and she was deficient in iron her whole life, right until the point where she was about 16, 17. I can't remember what age she converted to a plant-based diet, but ever since she converted to a plant-based diet, she has had no problems with iron. It was the absolute reverse. So
wow.
being a
So
meat.
she ate meat throughout
Yeah,
her younger
she-
years and had a deficiency in
Yeah.
iron. Then when she converted over to
She
a
had no
plant-based
problems.
diet, she was sweet.
Yeah, and her
Wow.
GP, she told me all the time she'd go and see a GP, get iron supplements and things like that. But she's never had a problem since. And the other funny thing is her mum, who my mother-in-law, who just recently converted to a plant-based diet as well. She used to be iron deficient, and then she went onto a plant-based diet, and now she's not iron deficient at all. And so it's pretty cool. For the first time in her life, she rang me to tell me, she's like, I'm not iron deficient. I just got my bloods done.
Yeah, wow.
And I'm not iron deficient. And I was like, that's amazing. So like we said before, there's heme iron and there's non-heme iron.
Yep.
So something like 80% of our iron for the whole planet comes from non-heme iron. That's from plants. And only like 20% of it comes from heme iron.
Yeah.
So people will tell you that heme iron is absorbed better. And that's true. It gets absorbed straight across. So when we eat our food, you eat a bit of steak or whatever, it goes into the stomach and then into our duodenum where iron is absorbed.
Yep.
And it crosses those cells very easily, the heme iron. Now, that's not to say that non-heme iron doesn't get absorbed either. It gets absorbed absolutely fine. It gets absorbed less, yes, I agree. But you do not need a whole heap of iron. There are people that are deficient, but there are certain other factors to that too. You need to think about what helps to influence the absorption of iron. So things like vitamin C and citric acid, so like lemon juice and things like that. So and fibre has also been shown to increase iron absorption and things like that. So fibre coming from fruit and veggies. So that's also important as well. So you can get all the iron you need just from plants. And absolutely fine. I have not, just like you, I have not been iron deficient. I ran a 100k run not too long ago. I certainly wasn't keeling over and struggling. In fact, it's quite the opposite. And you know, the thing is, where do you get your iron from? Well, green leafy vegetables, so spinach, everyone knows that spinach is full of iron. Legumes are a great source of iron. The other thing I do is in my smoothie every morning, so I throw some spinach, kale, and I throw some pepitas or some pumpkin seeds because they're really dense in iron. Now, people will always say, well, there's more iron in spinach. Well, there is, but that's per 100 grams, so you need to eat a lot more spinach to get that iron, but you still don't need that much. And if it's just funny how people will justify why they need that meat for iron, and it's not true. You don't need it.
I think you made a really good point there, and I guess from what you're saying is that most people in Australia are getting, whether you're on a plant-based diet or not, you're getting loads of iron. I couldn't believe actually how much iron is in many different plant-based foods out there.
Yeah.
It's more of an absorption thing than, I guess, not actually getting enough iron, because there's a lot of people eating iron but they're not absorbing it. Is that a big factor?
So true. There's people who eat meat all the time, and then they come in for an operation, and we give them an iron transfusion. We inject iron straight into their bloodstream. And that's obviously important for surgeries and getting people through surgery, because you need that iron to make your hemoglobin, and you need your hemoglobin to get through an operation. So it is one of those things that people think, oh my God, I'm not going to get iron, but it's a very clever marketing tool, and
that's what it is.
Yeah, it's another one of those things. We need protein from meat, we need calcium from dairy, and we need iron from meat. But
it's ridiculous.
We don't. If cows have so much iron, then where are they getting theirs from? They just eat grass.
Yeah, that's true. That's a very good point.
It's you don't need to worry about it. If you're deficient, then there may be other things that you need to think about in terms of your absorption.
So I guess this leads to our next topic, and that is talking about calcium, which is another mineral that people go crazy about, especially people who are transitioning to a whole food plant-based diet. Even a lot of health professionals are, telling people still you need milk for calcium, and this is a subject I'm also really looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to it too.
So look out for our next series, series 4, and that is on calcium.